So this GTA 6 is everything wrong with society as such.
There's one big question on people's minds. After over a decade since GTA 5, what does Rockstar have in store this time? The bar couldn't possibly be higher. Thanks to its massive release and its online economy, GTA 5 is probably the highest grossing piece of media of all time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Never has there been an opening like this in the entertainment industry. This week, Grand Theft
We
Auto
got like 150 million views in the first 24 hours.
5 pulled in $1 billion in sales in 3 days. No movie or music release has ever come close to that.
I'm here for Grand Theft Auto 5.
Reaching over $6 billion, a figure that Rockstar would be lucky to match the next time round. But with the
Oh,
reports
it's 8.3 billion.
the development budget between $1 and $2 billion alone for GTA 6, people will be expecting the world. Most of all, people are going to be looking for something that builds on what GTA 5 did so well. The sheer scale of the game was one of the things that really blew people away. The way the world seemed so alive and the heist missions were dazzling spectacles which acted like mini finales. The story and the characters were incredibly well
He
done.
can do everything, that's why people like
Different little
him.
all over the place. You could definitely tell that each plot point had at least 50 writers working on it, but that didn't stop the dialogue from being snappy and the characters from being some of the funniest and most interesting we've seen in a long while. At the end of the day, any game where you can steal a blimp has at least something going for it. What cemented it all together though were the mechanics of the game. Everything from the driving, the flying, the combat mechanics, it all worked pretty much perfectly. A massive step up over the previous games in the series. If any of these elements were subpar, it would have ruined the entire game. If the driving felt clunky or stiff, then it would have turned all the long drives into a chore rather than a welcome change of pace. Instead, the time you spend driving just seems to disappear. And this focus on the core mechanics actually being fun over and over again is what's missing from so many games today. But for GTA, it was what enabled Rockstar to turn it into a massively successful MMO that's been running for nearly a decade straight. If Rockstar doesn't get these essentials right for GTA 6, then it might turn out as one of the biggest blunders of all time, but it's unlikely. So then what do we know about the
It's a Rockstar game, so
game so far? Well, speculation about GTA 6 has been going on for years and years now, but it wasn't until 2020 that we learned anything concrete. Even that was part of a leak from the company. In a Kotaku report, insiders at the studio said it was still a ways away, but they did have some details even at such an early point. Rockstar has and still is infamous for their culture of crunch and overworking their developers. Anyone who's played Red Dead Redemption 2 will know the sheer amount of time that must have gone into each tiny detail. So to try and ease the burden, sources at the company said the game would be limited in scope at first, but expand over time as new content
won't they make more money after they release a game though?
gets added. Although whether this is just an excuse for Rockstar to repackage paid DLC is another story. Other than that though, details were scant. It wasn't until last year that we really learned some of the details. 5 months after Rockstar officially announced it was coming out, Bloomberg released a report on some of the upcoming game's main features. We learned that the game would originally start off in Miami, a fact that was later all but confirmed when development footage was leaked. It wasn't long before people took some of the buildings they saw and matched them exactly to some of Miami's real-life structures. One detail though was that while the map was going to be smaller than usual, it would have far more indoor locations. Rockstar games have always been more focused on immersion in a real world, so this will be a welcome change. On top of this, the game was confirmed
Yeah, so it's just missions, I mean, it will be enjoyable.
to have 2 protagonists, one male and one female. Maybe a step back from the 3 main characters of GTA 5, but still interesting. Not many people base their
How is just a step back?
judgments about a game on the amount of protagonists anyway. But a few months later, and there would be a much larger leak, showing footage from the unfinished game, raw code and even some voice acting from scenes in the game. Lots of it was scrubbed by Rockstar shortly afterwards, although what was seen confirmed some early reports about the game. And the leaker actually turned out to be a 17-year-old from Britain, who had hacked into Rockstar with a Fire TV stick in a hotel room connected to his mobile phone. And it wouldn't be all that surprising if a similar character ended up in the game itself. But outside of the confirmed details, we can make a lot of pretty strong predictions based on both what Rockstar's done with their previous games, as well as a little common sense. But before we continue, I want to talk about a video sponsor. Have you ever Googled yourself of information, or you can go to Aura.com. Most certainly be an online site of the game, most likely separate from the single player. GTA's online shark cards and microtransaction kept the company afloat for a decade, promising perpetual income for very little effort in comparison. Their effectiveness is most likely a large part of why we haven't gotten GTA 6 sooner. Rockstar were pretty much releasing a game every year before GTA Online came out. Since then, we've seen just one major release in a decade. Another thing we can almost certainly expect is a focus on satire. GTA
Is it because of the It's a big game.
5 was full of it, as were the other games in the franchise, but today it's going to be a bit trickier. Past 10 years have seen real life surpass fiction in how absurd and comical it is. Things we laughed at yesterday are normal today, and so it's hard to imagine how Rockstar and the legions of writers will come up with anything more crazy than what's in the news. Could Life Invader from GTA 5 really be renamed into something dumber than Meta? Or could they come up with anything more redundant than X? How could they even approach how insane and over the top modern politics is today? Judging by what we saw in the last game though, there's a few obvious paths they could take. Two characters from GTA 5 that seem so much more relevant now are Michael's two children, Jimmy and Tracy. Jimmy is the stereotypical gamer. He's a toxic man-child, unaware of how awkward he is, while also blaming everyone around him for the fact he spends all day smoking and playing games.
最近 GTA 5 来
If they didn't drill it in enough already, he's literally got the word entitled tattooed on his neck. Tracy is on the other side of the coin, a stereotypical blonde airhead. She goes through life entirely obsessed with status, image, and her own popularity. She throws tantrums, is even more spoiled than her brother, and she's painfully naive. This was Rockstar's over-the-top but disturbingly accurate portrayal of teenagers at the time the game came out, and today nothing's really changed, except that these people grew up and now they're the ones setting the example and guiding social media for everyone younger than them. It's a self-perpetuating cycle that began with people like these characters.
Okay, what was the clip of Sniper Wolf for?
And so you can be sure that Rockstar's gonna roast the hell out of them. The Jimmys and Traces of yesterday are the influencers of today, the most entitled, degenerate people making the most money of all. Considering how blatant and clearly greedy some influencers are, every week like clockwork there's another controversy about some influencer pushing some awful product, usually a scam, whilst failing to hide how stupid they think their audience is. Just look at one of Pokemon's most recent scandals, trying to sell $28 cookies, then insulting the people who call her out on it by saying they're just poor and stupid. Cookies that are just an obvious rebrand of some
It's the way she said it. It was not good.
other, more cheaper cookie. Let alone all the crypto scams that influencers like Logan Paul push. Equally likely though is Rockstar making fun of both the Sims, calling these people queen unironically.
So Ruby Rose is a very popular individual right now, and she posted this on Twitter today. I ran into my #1 spender on OnlyFans.
This
and we are
drama.
blessed with two
You guys should watch this.
magnificent pictures here. On the left, it is Ruby Rose posing with her #1 piggy bank dumper. Now let's turn our attention to Exhibit B and we can get the statistics. So he has been subscribed to her OnlyFans for a month and has spent a total of $62,000.
As well as the people spending their whole lives
That's
raging in
insane.
comment sections. Often though, they're just the same people. GTA also excels at specifically deconstructing American culture as well. While lots of other shows, movies and games do this, GTA does it in such a complete and direct way that it's unique. Every detail is a masterclass in satirizing America. From the way the adverts on the radio sound, to the ridiculous political campaigns and billboards, it's uncanny how close they are to reality.
The same report says he allegedly used campaign money for a flashy Las Vegas holiday, a shopping spree at makeup store Sephora, and for payments to OnlyFans, a site known for adult entertainment. He's now facing 23 federal charges.
The satire is most visible though in the names Rockstar gives their fake companies. Facebook turns to Life Invader, Fox becomes Weasel News, and Goldman Sachs is renamed to Schlongberg Sachs. While they might be juvenile, these names are working on another level beyond crass humor. They're poking fun at the doublespeak way that companies name themselves, something that's ubiquitous today. Companies don't fire people anymore, they downsize or they restructure. Reductions in pay or the company's revenue becomes adjustments instead. What began as little more than stupid buzzwords and boardroom
Yeah,
meetings
not the downsize.
has infected every layer of society. Today, companies are so terrified of the truth in their PR image that their names barely mean anything anymore. Facebook became Meta and Twitter turned into X. Both of the previous names actually meant something. Facebook actually was a book of faces in the beginning. Now they don't mean anything at all. Even company logos become bland and featureless. Just compare any big name brand's logo to what it was 10 years ago, nearly every time it's just a simplified geometric version of it. But with GTA 6 set to be the most
I
expensive
mean, Google is still pretty good.
AA game in history, it might be an issue for Rockstar to properly satirize these mega corporations. They are one now. It'll take a bit of the momentum out of every shot they take at corporate America when they're a massive part of it. Although it might not be as big of a problem as people expect. After every GTA game, and for the entirety of GTA Online, you're invited to get straight back into the criminal grind. Whatever lessons the protagonists learn about how they should value their family, or get out while they still can, always fall away. If they actually landed, the game would just end. Instead, there's an irony in how the main character can finish their arc, become a complete person, learn all these core values about humanity, then get right back into murder and mayhem. Rockstar are the same. Their character's arc finished with GTA 5. It was the definitive GTA experience, and they became one of the largest gaming companies in the industry. But now they're back to it all over again, but bigger and better. Rockstar themselves are large enough to be satirized in a GTA game, if only they weren't the ones making it. This is just one example of the million different ways Rockstar could take on modern culture in GTA 6. There's literally a whole world of options for them. Considering it's taking place in Miami, we're pretty much likely to see some SoundCloud rappers at the very least, and all the degenerate podcasters. But overall, the way Rockstar just cuts through the nonsense and goes straight for the jugular is what makes GTA some of the best satire around. The only thing left to see is whether they can keep the ball rolling for GTA 6. These sorts of massive AAA releases only come along once in a while, and they're always a complete gamble. The more highly anticipated a game is, the bigger risk there is of a complete flop if it doesn't reach people's expectations. For gaming audiences,
Cyberpunk 2077 is actually bigger.
especially, the reactions can be a little on the extreme side. Considering people have been waiting over a decade and the games have had more than $1 billion thrown at it, the possibilities are limitless.
I'm sure it will be successful. I'm attending that.